officially to order. We would like to observe a moment of silence to reflect on the continued violence in our community and for those who are affected by systemic oppression. Thank you. We're going to call this regular board meeting of Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 to order. Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gergen.
Here.
Mr. Parker. Here. Mrs. Barwig.
Here.
Mr. Vasquez. Here.
Thank you. I believe the Reynolds Elementary School students will provide or lead us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Durant, the vision and mission statement, please.
TPS mission is to produce competitive college and career-ready graduates through a rigorous curriculum across all grade levels by implementing Ohio learning standards with fidelity. Our vision statement and strive to be an A-rated school district whose graduates are college and career ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Section 2, Dr. Durant, we have some presentations this evening.
Yes, I would turn this over to Ms. Mather.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. October has been Career Technology Month across the district. Toledo Public Schools currently offers more than 35 career technology-focused programs. Some are available at one of the district's comprehensive high schools, while the interest and demand of others has warranted them becoming their own school. To make sure students, parents, guardians, and the community are aware of the diverse options that are available, TPS designated October as Career Tech Month. This month-long celebration promised hands-on projects and presentations for students in grades 5th through 10. Tonight, we have Margaret Logwood and Jose Rosales from the district's Career Technology Department here to tell us more about the awareness efforts that were taking place throughout October and the plans for keeping this positive momentum building.
Thank you. My name is Margaret Logwood, and I am a career tech education supervisor. I supervise over middle grades as well as family consumer sciences and the job training program for Option 4 special ed students. We have been working, I and Jose Rosales have been working on Career Awareness Month. And in this month, we have been able to introduce students, 7th grade, to the career tech education curriculum. 7th grade curriculum starts with the soft skills, career readiness skills that they need to know. And they do a lesson every week that is geared towards that. This month, for Career Awareness Month, we have geared the lessons towards the students becoming aware through the Naviance platform. And with the Naviance platform, students are able to log in, explore what careers are best suited towards them based on their interest, the things that they like. And they are also given an opportunity to discover career pathways, other areas they can go into based on those career interests and those likes. 7th grade has those soft skills that they're learning. 8th grade starts learning career clusters. So this is a build-up for them. This week is parent-teacher conferences, and the parents will be presented by the teachers and counselors with student readiness reports and survey reports of all of their students' academic curriculum learning that they have done through Naviance. We will use that data to determine where our 8th graders are placed in the Career Connect Expo. Jose has our new brochures that we have to let our schools know what there is to offer in all of our 35 plus programs and at our magnets and academies. We have Career Tech Tuesday that we've been doing, and that consists of every Tuesday, we have current students as well as graduates showcased either through audio on the morning announcements or in video that's across the district of those students, current and former, speaking about what Career Tech has meant for them and what they've learned and the benefits that they've gained from being in our Career Tech program. This week, after our students' parents have seen their student readiness reports, the next following week, they will be doing Career Tech projects. Our 8th grade Career Tech project is geared towards the medical academy, where they'll be learning about the lungs. And we have a really nice presentation and video that'll go along with that. That will be included in that curriculum that 7th and 8th graders will see, as well as some of our district social media video activity. So our 7th grade, they're doing a STEM penny boat challenge. And we are just excited to have our students be a part of the process, the project-based learning for Career Tech. This is a culmination of the expo, which is going to be at the end of November, November 30th and December 1st at the Glass City Center, formerly Seagate Center. We have a 6th grade night, and you can go to the next slides. These are our save the dates that we have, showcasing some of our programs. That's the Med Tech save the date. We also have a TTA save the date, if you want to go to the next one. And we have a auto save the date as well. I think this is the auto. So with that, I will turn it over to Jose Rosales, who has been working with us very closely on making sure the Career Connect Expo is a success.
Thank you, Martini. So what we're trying to do during Career Tech Month is obviously create the awareness that which programs we have in the district, nearly the 40+ programs throughout our comprehensive high schools, and also the programs that exist in our magnet schools. So the reason we're doing 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grade, in theory, we won't miss every student. If we do an initial cohort of the 6th graders, by the time they're in their sophomore year, they should been able to already choose which program they're interested in. So when we discuss Naviance, by the time the students come down to the Glass City Center, they will be able to let us know which 3 programs they're interested in based on the Naviance career assessment. So if you have an 8th grader, they're not just coming to the Glass City Center to say, I want to go to this free-for-all field trip. No, they're going to have a cluster of 3, and we're going to strategically, intentionally send them to these 3 programs at the Glass City Center. So then they see what the Career Tech program looks like in our high schools, and they see what it looks like in the industry, whether it's in 5 years or 10 years from now, because for every Career Tech program that we have, our industry partners will be there, and they will show them what it looks like to be in the field, whether it's 10 years, 20 years from the down the road from now. Again, November 30th and December 1st. And a lot of questions with times we get, well, what about 9th graders? Well, the 9th graders, in theory, would have taken this field trip last year. Unfortunately, it was shut down due to COVID, and we went virtual. So this is our first year back, because this is an initiative we brought to the district back in 2018. And so what we're doing is we're going to follow every 6th grader and 8th grader over the next 3 to 4 years to see if the Career Expo is going to strengthen their interest, if it has any impact on the interest at all, or it's just like a placebo effect. It doesn't matter. Again, as educators, we must use the data to show us what the students want. If you build it, they will come. So hopefully it will lead our efforts in bringing more Career Tech programs and more magnet schools to Toledo Public Schools. I think I covered anything. Are there any questions about Career Tech Month or the Expo? Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know if you already considered this, but I don't know if you guys were trying to do a team day. Say we have 3 places children will go, right? I'm saying like having 3 of them grouped up as teams, going to these various places to learn. I just think it'll make it better. You know, it's single, I know they can do it.
Sure.
But it's motivation, you know, that drive. You got 3 people hustling, trying to learn something. You know what I mean? Also, with other thoughts and learning. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. That's a great point. Because as much influence as we think we may have on our children, their peers have more influence on them than we do. So within the 8th grade curriculum on the Career Tech side, that teacher that's in the school with them every day is already teaching them this curriculum. So on the bus, on the way down to the Glass City Center, they're going to be grouped. So they're not going to be just by themselves, and hopefully they're grouped with like-minded individuals. Yeah. So that group of 3 will go to those 3 stations together. Yep.
Keep them all focused on issues, all focused on something, like you said, you're gonna be doing things like teaching them how to write programs or something like that. Team-based goals, but they have to do stuff, you know what I mean? I don't know, I'm just.
No. So over the first couple years of the Career Expo, we used the feedback and the surveys and the data from that, and we've heard very similar feedback. So you're right on with that suggestion. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? The expo is 9:30 a.m. for students to 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 30th, and Thursday, December 1st. We have our 6th grade night from 5:30 to 7:30, and that will also include CTPD. Some of our stakeholders and partners will be there. And it is a chance for 6th grade parents to come in and see what our programs are about and what we have to offer before their child moves on to 7th grade, and the possibility of them going to academies or magnets from that point. Sure.
Are homeschoolers allowed to attend these?
Sure. Our virtual academy will be attending as well. We're working that out just to make sure that every 8th grade student is allowed to be there, able to be there. And for our parent night, 6th grade night, there are buses that will be located at every feeder for parents who do not want to brave the parking situation of downtown. They can just go to those one of those schools, and there's every 30 minutes a bus will come and transport them to the expo and drop the others off who are done visiting with the expo. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, for the big moment. Cue the pomp and circumstance. Tonight, we are celebrating 2 fall graduates. Both have demonstrated their commitment and dedication to their future by fulfilling their educational goals. Both have lofty futures ahead, and now they are planning what comes next after high school. Coming up first, from Bowser High School, we have Kaisha Wilson. Kaisha, my fault. When asked what her future plans include, after graduation will be a variety of things, but first I will be going to Owens so I can complete my core classes needed for my future in criminal justice. Then I will go to Youngstown University to study criminal justice and criminal psychology. Eventually, I will go to one of the best law schools, but for now, I'll follow my dreams and just enjoy life's blessings. Oh, I will have thousands of my own law firms across the globe.
Today your day. You can shake everybody's hand in here.
That's so good. Okay, again, let's cue up the pomp and circumstance. We have one more graduate to congratulate tonight. From Start High School, Jermaine Toller.
We want to get some pictures too, so don't go anywhere, our graduates.
Okay, I know we have lots of family members and friends for both graduates, so we're gonna go back to the back wall here and do some pictures.
go and move on to our final presentation, I believe, right?
That's correct. And tonight, our last presentation is for retiree. And I know we have a few retirees here with us tonight. If we do have a retiree, please come forward, start down at that end of the horseshoe and come around and let everyone say congratulations. Carol B. Lanigan, she's a first grade teacher, retiring with 26 years and 5 months. Karen McNaughton, fourth grade teacher, retiring with 28 years and 5 months of service. Judith A. Coloff, she is a physical education teacher, retiring with 31 years of service. Betsy Wismer, who I went to grade school with. We both went to Harvard Elementary. Yes, we did. Grade 1 teacher, retiring with 34 years. Diane Metler, Executive Director of Operations in the Business Division, 36 years of years of service. And Sue Krieger, a paraprofessional with 43 years and 8 months of service. That's a total of 168 years and 8 months of service to Toledo Public Schools.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. So we are to the portion of our agenda that includes community comments. Treasurer, if you could inform us of the policy and the timing on this.
The board values the input of citizens and community members regarding all aspects of the district. The board understands that the education is the center of all community issues and activities, and that input is important because it allows the board to hear all views on all matters. In order to ensure a quality public comment portion during board meetings, all citizens and community members who are scheduled to speak before the board shall abide by these general rules. 1, each speaker has 3 minutes unless modified by the board president. 2, the time will be displayed for the speaker and the public to see. The treasurer will announce when the time has expired. 3, any questions that speakers would like responses to should be submitted in writing, and the board president will secure answers within a reasonable time frame, normally 7 to 10 days, depending on the amount of research required to provide a comprehensive response and the time-sensitive nature of the question. 4, board members will not engage in policy dialogue with speakers, but will use their established committee format to have a substantive dialogue. The public comment section is the opportunity for the board to listen to all citizens and community members and make contact with speakers following the meeting for individual feedback and questions. The general guidelines are established as a way to provide the maximum opportunity for board members to listen to citizens and community members and provide an organized and structured procedure for feedback that will help our students and families.
Thank you. The board recognizes Ms. Annie Aldafi.
Hi, my name is Annie, and I'm the daughter of Dale Garrett. If you aren't familiar with his name yet, he was the man who was left deceased in his truck unnoticed in the drop-off line for 7 hours at Longfellow Elementary on September 19th. I'd firstly like to ask why the board issued a statement to the public through WTOL that was full of lies. You stated that his vehicle was in a spot not covered by security cameras, but there are 4 cameras in the back of that school. Why weren't any of those cameras checked? Per the TPS website, it states that all schools have comprehensive camera systems that can be accessed by the principal and the assistant principal. You also stated that there was no SRO or security guard, but who is Mark Caldwell? He is listed under the Longfellow administration as Campus Protection Officer. So using the term SRO was really just a semantical circle of words with the public. What was he doing for 7 hours? What if that truck on your school grounds in that loop was not my deceased father, but instead something far more nefarious? I spoke with Ms. Johnson, who is the principal at Longfellow, who tells me that this easily happened because the physical education teacher didn't use the fields in the back that day, but the executive director, Jennifer Suarez, tells me that it was because he was 5 minutes late to drop off that day. School starts at 9 a.m. Security cameras that you state you don't have, the police watched, and in the report, which I have in my possession, they have my father exiting the building at 8:53 a.m., so he was in fact not late. Dale's grandson had even mentioned to the recess staff that his grandfather's truck was still parked outside. Why didn't that raise anyone's awareness to check that vehicle? Ms. Suarez, in an attempt to deflect and dissuade me from my attendance here at today's board meeting, called me to discuss any questions that I might have to keep the meeting short and sweet, but only chose to hang up on me because her lies and anger had caught up with her in the conversation. Ms. Suarez stated that the CPO was too busy inside that day to monitor the campus grounds. However, after mentioning that the CPO's job description in fact does include monitoring the campus grounds, she disagrees. As a civil servant, which Ms. Suarez strongly stated she is not, she forgets that the job of the board is to support the families in their districts and not her own opinion. She tells me that she feels the security cameras that they have are absolutely appropriate, but I bet every Longfellow parent aware would probably disagree with that. Bob Vasquez says on the 27th board meeting that he is hypervigilant about safety, and Chris Varwig says that safety and security is a priority. But just yesterday, a kindergartner was found at Lasky and Jackman by the police because Longfellow allowed that student to somehow get out the front door unnoticed. Sounds like a hypervigilant safety priority now, doesn't it? Clearly, the statement that the TPS made about safety leaves a significant amount to be desired, and those fallible statements seem a little more like idiocy rather than hypervigilance. Ms. Johnson told me that my father's death was going to be a learning curve from the school, but clearly after yesterday, she's learned nothing. Because of that situation and the lies publicly from the TPS, I have been unable to even mourn appropriately as I have been hyper-focused and frustrated at how something like this can even happen at a time when schools are targeted by violence and attacks. Toledo Public School parents and children deserve better for their schools and from their board. Until I hear proposed ideas, changes for better safety, cameras working, safeguards put in place, plans of attack for heightened awareness, you will be graced with my presence at every board meeting in the future. I will see you next month.
Thank you. You're welcome. The board recognizes Mr. James Turinsky.
Thank you, Madam President. I come here tonight as an employee. I've asked 3 times, this is the 3rd time, to speak to the board. The first time I asked to speak to the board, I was informed that it is against board policy for employees to speak to the board. And then doing my research, I saw no such policy. I've had to argue First Amendment and Supreme Court cases, including a case decided by none other than Thurgood Marshall, to speak tonight. I'm quite concerned about how our administration chooses to interpret and enforce board policy. And I believe it needs to be reviewed. There needs to be some dialogue with the staff members. There needs to be a review as to why employees have been told, both myself and other employees I have talked to, that board policy says we cannot speak to the board. Board policy says should is not legally enforceable, it's a suggestion. Board policy says we should go through Dr. Durant as superintendent, but I have concerns about what happens if there is a problem at that level. How do we address something to get it up? And all I ask is that the board take these matters into consideration and take it back to us as employees to make sure that we have those channels of dialogue with the board. Thank you very much. And also congratulations to our graduates and our retirees. Thank you.
We are to the part of our section 4 of our agenda, which includes organizational input. We do have a student representative, Mr. Rumdale. Please introduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to share today.
Good afternoon. My name is Abshkar Ramdeo. I'm a senior at Woodward High School and I'm a SMARTS member. I've been a SMARTS member for 3 years now, and we have some projects we've been working on, such as we raise money for Ukraine and the Old News Boys. We're present at the freshman orientation, helping the teachers out with the kids. We serve Thanksgiving dinners, help students to get to know each other with Start with Hello Week. Recognize our staff and trusted adults in the building by giving a certificate. And the CPOs and people who kept us safe in the building. And one of our big projects this year is providing hygiene products for our students. And we wrote a grant to Toledo Public School Foundation. Hope we hear about you guys soon. Woodward has also volunteered to host a FACE committee meeting in our building. I'm happy to represent SMARTS today. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Mr. Emilio Ramirez from TAP.
Thank you. Hopefully you noticed I'm wearing an Old News Boys shirt that he mentioned. We were, this morning, my wife, Dr. Ramirez, and myself went and presented to UAW's chair meeting this morning. And we always do the kickoff for the fundraising event. They raise about $20,000 from the shop floors every year. So this is our start. I am going to come to you probably next month for the board members to help support the Old News Boys, as you always do, and I appreciate that. So I thank you all, and for the students at Woodward and the other school buildings. Also want to mention about election is coming up, because this is the last board meeting before election in a couple of weeks, and I know early voting is going to be starting and people are doing their mail-in ballots. Just want to remind everybody to make sure that they get out and vote. Extremely important. And I don't want to tell you who to vote for, but if you want to know who to vote for, you can call me. I can share with you who you should vote for, but make sure you vote for people that support public education and workers' rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments by the board. Mr. Vasquez.
I just want to talk a little bit about that. We had a FACE committee and we had student voice there, smart students, and we were at ANSAT, and they brought up some very good issues. We had a very good discussion. They gave us a tour of the school and of the building. We found that very informative. I also want to say that fresh in my mind is that there was a event at the Escuela this afternoon. I was there and attended and enjoyed it very much. I have to tell you, it's great for board members to be with students. It was a trunk or treat, and there were cars in the parking lot, and all of these young people came through. And as part of it, they got candy, of course, but also Toledo Federation of Teachers had a book giveaway, and I was able to help give away books. To see the excitement on these young students' faces and to see how thankful they were to get these books was just fantastic. It really warms your heart to see that. So I was glad I was part of that. There was also a round table. Let me go back to the books. The books were in both Spanish and English. And some of the books, in the same book was both Spanish and English. And there were some students who only spoke and read Spanish, so they were very excited to get those books as well. There was also a round table, a Spanish round table, and I think it was the associate president, vice president of American Federation of Teachers was there. She was very energetic. I think she was very impressed with our school, with our leadership. Part of the round table, of course, was Dr. Durant, Kevin Dalton, and myself and principal and other staff, of course, were there. It was a great event. The person from American Federation of Teachers was Evelyn De Jesus. So she was very energetic, had a lot of energy. She was putting pressure on us to make sure that we support the school, we support teachers, we support principals, and everybody involved. It was a great day for me. I enjoyed it very much. So just wanted to point that out to all of you that they're doing good things over there, and the kids are just really excited.
Madam President, yep. First and foremost, I just would like to congratulate the Career Tech leadership team and the programs that we have. We have come so far. Really excited about just the opportunities, the educational opportunities for our students. And when you talk about real school choice, that's where it's at. Public education certainly offers that, and then some. I love where we've come with Naviance, so far from where we, the previous program we utilized or didn't utilize. So I'm pretty happy with the Naviance program. I look forward to attending that event. I am absolutely looking forward to it. I'd like to congratulate the graduates. I know they're gone now, but that is some perseverance to keep at it. And, you know, they weren't able to walk with their class per se, but they certainly enjoyed tonight. And that is such a rewarding feeling to be able to get your degree. So I'm so proud of them. And then obviously congratulations to the retirees. Our employees, we value them each and every day, what they do. And the fact that they've gotten to this point where they're able to retire and enjoy their time after their job, after they're done. So congratulations to all of them. And then just Mr. Vasquez, thank you for attending today. I was not able to attend a Squela event today, but I sure saw my granddaughter this morning dressed as Pip the unicorn, or I don't know, whatever it was, whatever kind of animal that was. I think it was unicorn. And my daughter that is a pair there and dresses Little Red Riding Hood. So they had a great time, and I've heard all about her book already. So she will be reading that to me as well tonight when I get there, if I get there before bedtime, we'll see. And I think just as a reminder, when we talk about, Mr. Ramirez, you talked about voting. I am thrilled that TPS is really focusing on civics education and looking forward to what we're going to be presenting here in the next week or so. I think it's important that civics education is a priority for our students so they know how to vote, when to vote, where to vote, you name it. Whatever needs to happen in a very nonpartisan way. I think it's a priority for students to be able to have that opportunity to go ahead and do that. So look forward to that. And then we have the Ohio School Board Association conference coming up in November. So looking forward to that and receiving the gavel at that time. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Madam President, good evening again. Congratulations to all the retirees and to the fall graduates. I agree with Mrs. Barwood. Their determination to succeed is absolutely amazing. And so we salute and celebrate them as well. I really just, in my few seconds of talking, want to follow up with the theme of Mr. Ramirez and Mrs. Barwood about the importance of voting in this season, how crucial and vital it is for the fight that is against public education. Not only am I a product of public education, but I'm a parent of of public education as well. And if we are not careful, if we're not researching and paying attention to the different things that are coming against us, it could really turn a different way. And so I'm asking and encouraging us all to make our vote count, to let our voice be that vote to make a difference and really stand up for public education. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really wish we could have had a few more words while the graduates were in the room. I always see this as our why, and as the chair of the curriculum committee, meeting those administrators on that committee know that whenever they bring us the list each month, there's a trickle, right? Every month there's a trickle of graduates, and you'll see them in our board agendas that we have to approve those, that those students have indeed met all the criteria and they get their diplomas. And each time I say, now let's make sure we invite them to come to the board meeting. And it's not very often that it works out that that it lines up with schedules and we're able to get them in. But they have 2 graduates in. It's really exciting, and turned our board meeting into a bit of a party. I love it. And also I would say to them, the business of perseverance. I was supposed to graduate and didn't quite make it, and had to go, back then it was night school. We didn't have any of this online stuff. So I had to go to night school and finish up that one little half a credit in order to actually get the diploma in the mail. So I really appreciate the opportunities. And it brings me also to it is Career Tech Awareness Month. And I also like to reflect on how far we've come with career tech programming. I was a career tech kid. They called it voc ed back then, vocational education. And we really did have to choose between rigor and job preparedness. We had to choose between preparing for college and job preparedness. And now we have this really robust career tech program that does all of the above, including earning college credits along the way. You don't have to worry about if you could get that extra science class in while you're also studying to be, a nurse's aide or phlebotomist. You get to do both. So I'm really proud of where we've come. And, this is school choice, my favorite new tagline. Everything that we have to offer in this book alone just is so expansive that we should always hashtag school choice when we're talking about the wonderful programs we have here through the public schools. Thank you, and I think that brings us to the consent agenda, right? Oh, go ahead. Yes.
You know what? I'm sorry. I meant to leave this. I did not mean to leave this out. I want to thank our student representative tonight for coming here. I'm so proud of you. Like, number one, you're Woodward, right? So my husband's a Woodward grad. I know. Go Polar Bears. So I'm just so thankful that you're here and talking about the great things that you're doing via the SMARTS program. So thank you. We all appreciate it and are so welcoming that you're here and thankful.
Thank you. That's right. Any other board comments? I will move us to our consent agenda. In the consent agenda is all of the items that we are bringing for board approval that we have worked on through our committees all through the month. So agenda items 6.01 through 6.36 are the consent agenda items. Board members may request to pull an item and move it to the discussion section of the agenda if necessary. Items 6.01 to 6.04 are the human resources, staff development, and training committee action items that is chaired by me and co-chaired by Mr. Randy Parker. Items 6.05 to 6.15 are the finance and business operations committee action items that is chaired by Bob Vasquez and co-chaired by Chris Barwick. Item 6.16 is the technology improvement and processing committee. There are no action items. That is a committee that's chaired and co-chaired by me and Mr. Vasquez. Items 6.17 and 6.19 are board curriculum instruction and academic excellence committee items, chaired by me and co-chaired by Mrs. Barwick. Items 6.20 to 6.30 are policy committee items that Committee is chaired by Sheena Barnes and co-chaired by Bob Vasquez. Item 6.31 is the Art, Athletics, and Student Activities Committee, chaired by Mrs. Varwig and co-chaired by Mr. Parker. There are no action items. Item 6.32 and 6.33 are the Family and Community Engagement Committee that is chaired by Mr. Vasquez and co-chaired by Ms. Barnes. Items 6.34 and up to 6.36 are approval of board meeting minutes. I would like to request a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Varwig,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you. So section 7 is the reports and minutes from all of the committee meetings. That's where you can see the agendas and the minutes of each committee meeting that led to our action items this month. There is no action required for those. Section 8 is a discussion section, and we do have a couple of items that need action. But 8.01 is the non-certified section of our HR committee agenda. I would like to request a motion to approve the non-certified section.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Varwig,
Abstain.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, and one more, 8.02 is the instructional section of our HR committee agenda, and I would like to request a motion to approve this instructional section.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Varwig,
Abstain.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, I think that gets us to section 8.03, the 5-year forecast, which means I'm turning that over to you, Mr. Steckschulte, right?
Waiting for it to pull up. There we go. So tonight we're going to go over the 5-year forecast. I've placed in front of you the detailed version. We're going to go over the highlights of the forecast tonight. And if you have any questions, just ask. So first off, the purpose of the forecast is to, there's 3 reasons, basically. The first one is for the board and the community to long-range plan with finances. The second area where it's used is to certify our 412 certificates, which are required by law. And then the third option, or the third reason, is it provides the auditor state and the Department of Education a snapshot of our fiscal health. And the methodology that we use when developing the forecast, we look at the past or historical data and trends and other current information that we have at that time. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to review the key assumptions for revenue, then we'll do expenditures, and then we'll go over the end. So in this forecast, we have 2 levy renewals. The first levy renewal is a 6.5 mil current operating or current expense levy, generates $14 million. We'll be on the ballot for that one in November of 23. And that would be for a 5-year period of time. So it will be consistent with what we've done today. The second renewal levy is a 5.8 mil combination levy. 4.3 mils or $9.7 million is for general operating, and then 1.5 mils or $3.41 million is for capital improvements. This is also a 5-year levy that would be on for renewal in the November 23 ballot. The next slide here, this is the property values for the district. The bottom portion is the residential and agriculture. The yellowish is commercial and industrial, and then the top, that's green, is the personal or public utilities personal property. What I want to point out on this slide, every 3 years you see a slight bump, except for when we go from 20 to 21. There's a greater bump there. So the way the state law works is we have a triennial update and a sexennial update. The triennial update is when the Ohio Department of Taxation looks at all the sales that occurred in the last 3 years, and then they adjust property values using that formula that they have. When you do the 6-year look back, they actually go and look at each property in the county at that time. You'll see that normally there's not a whole lot of fluctuation except for from 20 to 21. At that time, that is when the Department of Taxation reviewed the values and indicated to the county auditor that they needed to increase more or greater than what they typically would have just under a normal time. So where this comes into play, property values come into two places in our revenue. Obviously, one, it's what we use in our levies that generates our property tax, but it also helps calculate the local share within our state aid. And you'll see that here in a couple more slides. The second area here, this is the federal adjusted gross income by tax year. This is the second area that helps determine the local share when we're determining state aid. So the first two columns are actual from 2019 and 2020. 21 through 25 is projected. And those, it looks like it's a large increase, but it's a 10% increase from 20 to 21. We do not believe that is unrealistic with things that have happened in the past and the wages that people are now, or when you see these companies out there looking for employment, they're offering higher wages. This was developed with the consultation of other, not affiliates, but other districts and professionals that were reviewing it. So that does then, the chart on the left, on the right, shows the yellow is what the state share is, and the blue on the top is the local share. So base cost this year for fiscal year 23 is $7,344. The split that we have right now is 28% comes from local, and then the 72% is funded by the state. We are not showing this changing as we go through, but this does show that we're heavily dependent on what the new biennial budget will be here in June timeframe. The $7,300 is not the total state aid that we receive. This is the state aid for the base cost. This does not include the add-ons for gifted special education, poverty, and English learners. Those all have their own separate calculations. This is the base cost that all districts use in the beginning. This here shows the enrollment and our projected enrollment. The 5 bars to the left that have 2 sets of bars, that is when we were funded where a child lived. The gray bars that go out, or the lower ones, are the ones that actually live in Toledo Public Schools, or attend Toledo Public Schools, I should say. So right now we have, for fiscal year 21, we had 65% of the market with 21,000 out of the 32,000. We are showing flat enrollment as we go out. these numbers, we do bring them back to the enrollment study that we had completed in April of 2019 from Cooperative Strategies. So we do bring these back to that document, but we do adjust them because they did not have code or any of those issues back then, so they have been adjusted. The next slide shows the state aid that we receive. The yellow bars at the top is what's restricted. Restricted state aid is your career tech funding, poverty funding. They have to be spent on special or on restricted uses, and then the unrestricted is below it. On the expenditure side, so if we look at the chart on the right, we have 55% and 20% of our expenses, or every dollar we spend, is on salary and benefits. And then we have the others. In purchase services is our next largest category. And then you see the remaining 4 at the top. The chart on the left is every dollar that we receive and then we spend, 93% is at a fixed expense, and 7% is discretionary. So what I mean by that, a fixed is salary and benefits, federal and state mandates, items that may be required in a union contract, utilities, transportation, property and liability insurance, things in that nature, things that we must expend money on to operate as a district. The 7% is if there's a project that we would like to do or other items that are not a fixed cost. Also included in this forecast are the following initiatives. You have the security upgrade, which is cameras, the portable apple orchard, an alternative school, the renovations at the DeVilbiss cafeteria, phase 2 and 3 of the pre-medical school, advanced manufacturing, phase 2 of NSTC, the electric vehicle program at DeVilbiss, CDL program, educator program, the construction academy, and the STEM academy. So the figures you see there are when we are estimating we're going to spend dollars on those projects. And then the FTE is the smaller column there. But all these are included in the 5-year forecast. There's other key assumptions. Right now, we're looking at a new levy in the 8 to 10 mil range in November of 24. If we use 8 or 10 mils, it would generate roughly $20 to $26 million. When we presented this in May, the mills that we were referring to then was at 8 mils. And it also has cost reductions of 1.5% and 3%. So here's a summary forecast that shows that with a 10 mil levy in the year 2027, we would have a $12 million ending cash balance. If we would go to the 8 mil levy, it shows us that basically breaking even at it shows negative 700, but that would not occur at that. So we would be breaking even at year 2027. So from there, we did what if scenarios. We've actually done roughly about 15 what if scenarios, but we're only going to go over a couple more. So what if the state phased in state aid as they currently are phasing it in under the current biennium budget? If we used a 10 mil levy, we would have almost $38 million out in 2027. If you use an 8 mil, we would have 24, almost $25 million. And then the base forecast is if we would do nothing, we would be $42 million in the hole at the end of 2026. So, I mean, really the highlight is what will the state aid do? If they phase it in as they typically have, which is 16% each year, that helps us out tremendously. We use a more conservative number, around 4 or 5%, based on historical trends. And that's how we came up with our forecast that we'll be submitting to the state. So I will open it up to questions at this time.
Doctors? Good. Mr. Vasquez?
Yeah, I don't have questions as much as I do some comments to make. First of all, Madam President and fellow board members, I think it's important to know, and I know you already know this, but to comment on it, is that very few businesses are asked to do a 5-year forecast. We're living in a very fast-moving, volatile environment. It's a requirement. We have to do that, but it is very difficult to make a forecast of what's going to happen in the next 5 years. The other thing is you have to look at the assumptions, because the assumptions really tell what the story is. If one of those assumptions doesn't happen, then it changes the whole scenario. And I think that the treasurer has, to the best of his ability, tried to account for some of those assumptions not happening. One of the things that's always bothered me about doing this 5-year forecast is we have to do it before the state budget. So we have no idea what the state is going to do. I think the treasurer's trying to look at what they did historically. He tries to pick up what the conversation is about what might happen in the future. And I think it's a very, very difficult job, and I appreciate your work on that. The other thing that bothers me is that when we look at our budget, and it's different than a home budget, and many people say that the Toledo Public Schools should operate as a business. Now, businesses don't generally have penny in, penny out. Okay. The expectation of government agencies and the school board and the school district is penny in, penny out. Because if you have anything else, they say, well, you don't need levy money, you don't need state aid, you don't need this, you don't need that. So that's one of the things. And I think that it's critical for all of us to look at, and I don't have the page number because it wasn't on the slide, the what if slide. Really focus on what if, because that'll give you kind of a feeling. It doesn't give me a secure feeling. It gives me more of an insecure feeling about what if, because that kind of tells you the scenarios, best case, worst case scenario. And I think we need to focus on that. Depends on whether you're an optimist or you're a pessimist on how you read that, okay? And, you know, Mr. Sexualty is smiling. I think probably my fellow board members are. I'm a pessimist. Yeah. Especially when it comes to money. I never look at money being in the bank. And sometimes it makes it difficult for all of you, for me being a pessimist, and I understand that. But we're trying to do the best that we can and trying to predict the future. I wish we could have more of an impact on our own destiny when it comes to finances, because we can't. One thing we have to depend on the state budget. The other thing, we have to depend on the great local support that we have had, and it needs to continue. But we have to depend on other people in the community to pass our levies. So with that being said, you have to really be careful about how you read the 5-year forecast. This is what it is today. Any one thing could change, and that forecast will be completely different. Thank you, Madam President.
I don't know if I have a question, but I'm an optimist. I always look for the positive, right? I will ask Mr. Sexualty though, do you know of any other business, organization, government entity that has to provide a 5-year forecast?
No, there are none. No, like counties, cities, villages, they do not have to. And to your point, there's actually 3 binding budgets in one 5-year forecast. So we are very dependent on state aid, and that can change dramatically 3 different times within our forecast.
Right.
So not only do we have to provide great services for our students and our community and be accountable for taxpayer dollars, but we have to have a crystal ball that we are supposed to present to the public for the next 5 years, and no one else has to do that. That's all. Thank you.
Well, I'm just gonna also comment on how confusing it must be when we have to do a forecast, a 5-year forecast, based on 3 different biennium budgets, which is also at the whim of whatever the political winds are at any given time in terms of whether or not we'll have an opportunity to reduce the local burden on our to educate our students. And then we have to rely on, as Ms. Vasquez said, our own ability to convince our community that what they're investing as the local share is worth it, when all the while we know that the way schools are funded is unconstitutional in the first place, and we shouldn't be having such a local burden, such a burden to the local share of the taxes. So it is very confounding, yet you always come up with something that allows us to at least understand the what ifs. If this, then that. It looks like we've got a couple of renewal levies that will be making sure that the community is willing to reinvest in. And then, Dr. remind me the last time we asked for new money, what year that was? What was the last time we asked for new money? 2014. So it's been a good while, and we have been a very good stewards of the taxpayer money. So from 2014 to 2024, we're looking at, that's a good run without asking for new money, and things have definitely cost more, and we're still at the whim of the state for their share. So I look forward to helping you convince the community to continue to invest in the future of TPS. I think I need a motion to approve. Do you have anything else? Go ahead, Sarah.
So Mr. Vasquez pointed out how volatile the forecast is. And what I want to point out is that our fiscal year 23, which is the first year of the forecast, is what we're reporting at our finance committee on a monthly basis. So our reports tied to our forecast. So if something changes, we look into see why it changed, and then we can see how it will affect our forecast pretty much on a monthly basis. I mean, an example of that would have been back in March of 2020 when the pandemic hit and state aid was reduced for us $3.6 million at the end of the fiscal year. We were able to show that in the forecast what it was, but that did not give us any time to even look at reducing any of the expenditures that we would have at that point. But if something would come in the beginning of a fiscal year, we would be able to adjust our budgets to help adjust for that. But that's how all the reports tie together.
Always updating it.
Madam President, who would have ever thought that we would have to adjust and assume a pandemic? I mean, that goes to my point.
If there are no further questions, we need a motion to approve the 5-year forecast.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Hardwick and seconded by Mr. Vasquez. Seeing no further discussion?
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Section 9, walk-ins. Are there any walk-ins this evening? I am ready for Section 10, early childhood education action items. That committee is chaired by Ms. Barnes, who is not present tonight, and co-chaired by Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker?
This time I'll turn it over to Dr. Allen.
Thank you. 10.01 is our request for a disability waiver for our delegate Great Lakes Community Action Partnership required by the Office of Head Start.
Would like to make a motion on the 10.01 GL CAP disability waiver request.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you. Section 11 of the agenda consists of those early childhood education reports and minutes from this month's committee meetings and are provided for information and reference. No action is required. Section 12, are there any early childhood walk-ins? No. Okay, I think we are ready for superintendent comments.
Again, appreciation to our Career Tech team coming out. Career Tech Month has been going very well. Naviant and Ms. Barlow, you remember you brought that to the district many years ago just to see how it has evolved. So in my walkthroughs of the building, principals, we were engaging with students. Students are actually telling what their career pathways are. So which tells in essence that they're doing a great job, and every building had to summarize the interest within their building according to category, and that goes to the career tech program as well as the schools within themselves. So very great to have that. Again, a great showing today. We brought up your granddaughter at Square Smart Academy. It's a long day affair, and so great thing to be proud about. And Twitter Technology Academy of Engineering had their open house, a great turnout to that, as well as ANSAC, Aerospace Natural Science Academy, will have their open house this Saturday at 12. So if you have a good chance, feel free to stop out. Thank you, and keep you proud.
Mr. Treasurer.
I have something tonight.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
You should have received your OSBA information in the mail. They are doing a little different this year with everything. We can print name badges out before we get there instead of us typically receiving them and sending them out. Their program booklet is all online and so forth. So you can help with that. Just let us know and let us know if you did receive it.
Okay. I think I got mine. Need board comments.
No, I'm all commented on.
You're all coming to balance. Okay, Mrs. Margaret. So I do want to say something about the OSBA conference. It's going to be the first conference where our own Mrs. Bartley will you be presiding, or will you be getting the gavel at that conference?
I will be getting the gavel, and my my presidency starts January 1.
Okay, so you officially get the gavel as taking over as president of the State School Board Association, which is very, very cool, and we're very proud of you. I just want to mention that the Vouchers for Ohio group will have a booth, and so if you have a chance to hang out at all there to talk to other districts about our investment in that activity. They're also doing an informational session, and there's a steering committee meeting that is open to all board members who have, whether they're already invested in the project or not. And so we'd like to see with those things. And I think that's it. Do you have something else, Mr. or Dr. D?
I was going to say that we have 4 presentations for the WSBA around Career Tech. Our SMART students will be up representing in Columbus, our STEM and STEAM academies, as well as early childhood with Dr. Allen. So
That's right.
we'll send the date and time to you so you would have a good sense of when those are. And,
Right. So
Thank
TPS proud at the state coming to Columbus together. Very good. Thank you. I'm ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Farway,
Yes.
and Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you.